better off.
No, you're spot on. You're spot on, Jacqueline. And I think what we're saying is that in terms of that development and planning, what it means is that you are in a continuous cycle. You may have a certain time frame that you're taking for, okay, I've designed my collection, I've then produced my collection, and then I'm showing my collection. But what you may think is downtime is actually the time that you're doing the additional research on what's the situation with the textile, how do I source this type of textile, what is the supply chain like, building your own information, because a lot of these networks, and hopefully networks such as and platforms such as AFDB's Fashionomics, they will be able to bring online more and more information in terms of, listen, here's what, who's doing what in which country, let's say in Ethiopia, in Rwanda. This is also happening in Lesotho, more of the smaller scale activities. And so crucial, again, as you say, with the site visits that you're doing, because it gives that first hand understanding.
Yeah, really, really important. So who would you recommend? Let's just stick to this just in case of the time. So what lessons have you learned from working in the fashion industry in Africa, from being a consultant, from doing your own projects, from working with designers? What have been the key lessons, or working working in development as well? What have been the key lessons, international development, I mean, what have been the key lessons that you've learned, that you'd like, just a couple that you'd like to share?
Well, what I always say, Jacqueline, what I think is one of the most important things is to understand what the cultural context is. Okay? So for instance, you could be a designer that's in Rwanda and you decide that you want to source your textile from artisans who are doing it in Ethiopia. Okay? But if you don't understand the cultural context in which they work, you're already going to be in problems. Again, not to be blowing your horn too much, but that's why it's so important to do those site visits beforehand. The other thing is that a lot of the times emerging labels think that they're competing with one another, right? Because everybody has their own design ethic and that kind of thing. But in fact, there is a lot that they can gain by working together.
Yep.
Right? Yep. And we see it. I mean, we see it so much in the first world. You see, and the thing is, in the first world with the universities. So, for instance, like programs and initiative that CFDA in New York has started, working with the universities and that kind of stuff. Basically, it's a kind of cooperative mentality of sort of working together. And this, I think, is one lesson learned that I think is so crucial and important. You can see some good success from that approach. Like in the group Collective RW that's in Rwanda.
Yeah.
They
I'm glad you said this, because every year I send out a newsletter which is predicting African Fashion's year of. So for this year, it said that this was a year of basically like cooperation, working together, interdependence, and I used the Adinkra symbol of interdependence, so working together and cooperation. But I'm really glad you said that, because I said that's an ownership. So those two things, so Africa owning what is here, what is his or hers. Is Africa a he or a she of hers?
Both.
Right? And working together, doing things together. That's really, I think that's the way that connecting. I know fashion is a little bit fearful, like you said, but even if you look at the main fashion industry and what's happening, you will see that there's a bit more sharing of information, a bit more transparency. That's been really, really important. A lot of companies are sharing where all their production is. They're still trying to get, I think Primark, they're still trying to get Primark to share, and a few other retailers, but a lot of them have already started sharing where they're producing and showing, giving a bit more information.
What
they don't
happens?
tell you it's planned, but the information of sharing, working together, cooperating, you can actually leverage this, as Nicole was saying.
Absolutely.
So 100% agree with you.
Absolutely.
100.
And so, for instance, one of the big concerns that we also have on the continent as the sector is still growing, Jacqueline, is the factor of proprietary designs, or maybe I have a proprietary approach in terms of my weave, or a signature, right? No. Typically, what adds in the fashion industry to giving you that luxury factor that you have is the fact that those designs and USPs, the USPs that any designer may have, they are patented, and they're also protected by intellectual property laws. That's a new area that is being developed on the continent, albeit there are over 3,000 different cultural groups across the continent, right? And the question then comes, okay, well, who owns what? Who owns, do I call it Adire in Nigeria, but I call it something else when it's in Ghana, that kind of thing. But this is another thing that the emerging designers in the different countries and through platforms like yourself can achieve by collective approach, because together they can be pushing and saying, listen, this whole idea of the intellectual property, the IP signature for needs to be put in place. And I mean, I remember in Ghana there was a situation of somebody, well, let me not say, maybe I was going to say what the item was, that they put on their company logo or their signature, and in fact it was something that was being used by other people. So what's been interesting, which is another lesson learned, is how designers and those in the industry have been using social media to put out that information. Again, it's because of the collective. They've been using the social media. I know that there was one young designer, and he said to me, Nicole, let me tell you, I saw my exact design that I had shown on a runway project was being put out by. So he did a simple thing, which was very good, Jacqueline. He just took a picture of his item, which fortunately came before, right? And a picture, was shown in publications and that kind of stuff before, and a picture of the other item, and he posted it on Facebook and on Instagram.
Everyone would.
And then but then guess what? The other company took theirs down, because it was very clear that this is a design that was being pulled from somewhere else. That's another aspect. Also, another thing that I would say that I think is so important to look at and to learn is your transportation. Are you going to be using air transportation? Are you going to be, if you're going to be sourcing from very far distances, by and large, let's not talk about train, let's not be unrealistic. What we're talking about is road transportation, right? Now, road transportation may be cheap, but there are costs after you cross every single border that it's going across. So all of these different things. Another thing that I think is so important is also to really get a good handle on all your costs. So really take the time to, let's say, when I went to, I remember one young designer was saying, no, I'm getting the straps made in the UK, or I'm getting the straps made in Italy, leather straps. I said, okay, fine, that's great. Are you factoring in the cost of the airplane ticket? No, just the cost but you have to factor that in as well, because that is to actually get the item from where you go to pick it up to be using it there. And the other thing that I would encourage people is, a lot of designers used to say, well, what I want to do for my business plan is I want to use e-commerce. But I keep saying, okay, e-commerce is like a big yellow pages. If nobody knows that you're there, they do not know to look for you. Again, the importance of joining networks. because through joining networks, I think we can share a lot of information also too, in terms of what are some experiences that people are having on various platforms, right? And this is not saying, oh, this one is terrible or that one is terrible. I mean, even information is out there about Etsy and Shopify and all of that kind of thing. This is what my timeline has been. This is what the experience was. Factoring in also for e-commerce, the fact that if people need to return an item to you, do you have that also factored in so
There's
that
good
there
terms
is
and refund policies, and there is
refund policy, packaging? You
packaging is another big one. Yes.
big, big,
Yeah.
really, really big. So some of what I would say to emerging designers in terms of, you know, getting their production set up correctly, because those are some of the elements that we're talking about, is focus on a smaller scale. Start out with a smaller scale. Even if you know, okay, I'm going to go up to XYZ in terms of, you know, your projections, and that really take the opportunity to do the business planning that you need to do at the outset. Focus on the quality. And with that business planning also, you're really going to also be focusing on all of the different aspects and elements of costing. What's amazing now is that there are so many online programs, just like you're saying, that are available, you know, online courses.
So
And
I do give students a very basic costing to start with, and then I have examples of more in-depth costings that factors in some of these other things. But
yeah,
whatever you do, you're still gonna have to do your research. People, you have to find out how much is this going to cost, how much is shipping, how much is this, what kind of quantities are you expecting to be producing, what weights, what, you know, is it by air, by ship? All these things have to be considered, and nothing can be unturned. Basically, you have to look under every single
yeah,
area.
yeah. And then the other thing that I think is so important is in terms of your lines of communication. Um,
Mm.
even just today, you know, doing some additional research, looking at, I mean, we even in the last year, Jacqueline, there have been so many amazing new labels that I've seen that have come up. I mean, maybe they've been around, but you know, they're more on different platforms. You know, you have incredible people like Rich M. Nisi from South Africa that is now not only showing in South Africa, but also showed at Lagos Fashion Week. You
Oh yeah,
know,
just
yeah, you have you know, Nkwo Onwuku, you know, Imane Ayisi, you have Sunya Mugabo. I mean, some of them
yes,
are more known than other names, you know.
yes,
But the thing about it is keep your lines of communication open, because some that I was actually looking for today, and I thought, oh, this is very interesting. Let me see if there would be a way, because I'm keeping my own database. Guess what? No operable email bounce back.
mm,
No way to get in touch with the label. Now, in the other in the industry, in other markets, it may be that you may work through a showroom, so they'll be able to have that information that is indicated there. But we don't have showrooms as yet working like that. And guess what? You know, the thing about it is also, to Jacqueline, I don't think that the industry that we're developing on the continent has to follow a template for anywhere else. Okay? There are certain things we're talking, like your costing and your production, your finish,
yeah,
understanding the relationship with your customer and that type of thing. But we have that opportunity because, as you were saying just last night, 6 out of the 7 fastest growing economies in the world are all on the continent. The highest demographics in terms of buyers, that 18 to 45-year-old group, they're also on the continent. So we're still going to have some of the challenges in terms of trading, because we may be trading between West Africa and South Africa, this type of thing. We don't have one common free trade area as yet. That's being worked on by the AU, so
is
fingers
yeah,
crossed.
it is
Yeah,
for that, waiting for that. I was
exactly.
reading today, something for people to consider is the local market as well for as a target market. Because even when you look at, because I always say look at the global fashion industry, it's so important to look at what's happening globally and what's happening locally, because these things will start to affect. They're saying that a few years ago, it was 60% of sales were coming from like fashion sales, people buying fashion was
Mm-hmm.
coming from the Western world, but now it's 55% is from the non-Western world. So not from the US, not from Europe. It's coming from places like South America. It's coming from places like Asia and
Of
Africa.
course.
Places traditional, like shopping, well, Western world. So I hate the terminology, but that's for the lack of a better word. I'll just use that. So it's also to be considered. There's a lot of diasporans going back home to Africa, or non-Africans,
Absolutely.
and they want that.
Absolutely.
They want access to the clothing, they want access to good product, and there's problems to be solved. You also have to look at the kind of problems or needs that there are as well locally, that maybe you can solve that, you know. But anyway, sorry, Nicole. Yeah, let's continue
No,
with
everything you're saying, Jacqueline, I mean, this is a conversation. Everything that you're saying is so spot on, and that's exactly it. You know, the other thing that I would say is take your time, walk before you start to run. It's important. I think it's important and great to be showing in you know, your local fashion weeks, you know, and quite a few of those are happening now in a lot of the different markets. Then, you know, you may want to be moving up to Lagos Fashion and Design Week, or you maybe want to be moving to Mercedes-Benz Fashion Week in South Africa, some of those that are there. The other thing that I would say though is, you know, that, as I say, that importance, how do I contact you? Okay? How do I contact you? Because it is one thing for everybody to be showing their products at Lagos Fashion and Design Week, and then I'm reading about you in Vogue, and I'm seeing about you on Bella or Bella Niger or on a Check, you know, all of these different platforms that are there are styled by Africa. But then when I say, okay, let me just enter in and try and see, how do I get in touch with this person to say, you know, maybe I'm doing a project in Miami and would like to purchase some of that, and I cannot get you. I cannot, there is no way for me to get in touch with you. So what do you think I'm going to do? I'm going to move on to another designer.
Yep.
Completely. I'm going to move on to another designer, and that responsiveness also too. Once somebody reaches out to you, you know, have a reach back immediately, even if it's even just one initial reach back that says, listen, we've received your request, just like what you have, Jacqueline, on AFG. We've received your request. You will get a response within 24 hours, you know, that kind of thing. Keeping those communication lines open are so important. The other thing that I say, and I remember speaking about this with Sheldon, the designer from Naked Ape, is exactly what we're saying, in that the development of, you know, what we can put together as the Africa fashion landscape, right, will be unique. Because
It will
guess
be.
what? Of course, because one element, if we consider, is that the mass retail setting, you know, big Uber shopping malls and that kind of stuff, that's not a part of the culture across the continent. Okay, you have it developed in South Africa, you know, quite so developed in South Africa. But basically what people are thinking is, if you can buy something in mass quantities, then I'm not unique. That's why we have the culture also on the continent, from starting with tailors, because my item is bespoke, right?
Exactly.
So, but where I think that, and we can see from the incredible development in terms of mobile technology on the continent, how it has just leapfrogged, you know. Who has a phone at their house? So forget about it, you know. Oh, you want me to send you some money from Nigeria to, you know, to Tanzania? I'll just send it to you by mobile money. What? They're still trying to figure out mobile money in the US. in these Western markets over here. I'm saying these are opportunities for things that we can create on the continent ourselves in terms of
I
how
reckon Africa's going to get into blockchain and Bitcoin
could be.
quickly.
Yes, yes,
Watch. I believe it's going to happen. It's going to happen quicker because they're, especially with how they call Sheba Valley, or in Nairobi in Kenya or in Ethiopia, and
yes.
that's where they're getting very connected with technology, especially even in Nigeria as well. I reckon that the whole blockchain and Bitcoin, all of this is going to really take off there. I'm watching it. Data is a huge
Very
thing.
interesting.
Digital is becoming a big thing in Africa.
Even the delivery routes, right?
That's true.
So, for instance, I mean, I heard one case 2 years ago, very innovative, about a young man who said, "Look, let me see what I can use the drones to do." Did a test in terms of using the drones to deliver blood to doctors and ice packs to a project in Nigeria.
Wow,
Now,
look at that.
how is that being innovative? Let's look at it. What is one of the challenges that we have? A road network. And if the road network is
They
also
got
such that the road is of a good enough quality so we can get to the doctor who may be at a hinterland in the clinic. But guess what? The drone uses GPS. Voila! To the location in no time at all. These are the kinds of things that potentially could be used for delivering your blouse from Mimi Planche, Amy Sigo, Christy Brown to your front door.
See, people, it's all this innovation. It's, you know what, Nicole, you're really
Innovation.
yeah, it's really inspiring to hear you talk, because you not only are seeing what's happening, but you're connected with you're not just seeing what's happening in Africa, but you're connected with what's happening globally and see opportunities. That's how I really want people to look at things.
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
I'm going to wrap up now, but I just wanted you guys to have somebody like this amazing woman to come and speak with you and share.
Oh, you're so gracious, Jackie.
We can keep talking for like the next week.
It's true.
We're
going to pick up on the weekend.
Oh my goodness, yeah. It excites me. I don't know about you guys, but I mean, am I the only one that's excited here? I'm sure many of you are as well. There's so much opportunity. I'm really passionate about getting you guys on board, about connecting with you and having, supporting you in doing this. Tassia, I'm glad you said it's very positive. She
Yeah,
said, thanks. Guys, get motivated, get inspired, but listen to all the key things. Watch this video back and listen to some of the things, the important things that Nicole was saying. That's going to be so relevant for your business and how you're setting up and how you're making things happen. Because there's a lot of wisdom that has to come with this as well, and a lot of hard decision making and planning, which you can't overlook. So I really encourage you to watch the video back again. But yeah, I'm going to pause it right now. Oh, Rachel's excited. Cool, I'm not the only one. Great stuff. I've got somebody else on board who's excited.
Well, I can't wait to do another one and sign in to hear some of the other speakers that you're going to have also to Jacqueline.
Also, yes. Perfect. Tomorrow, okay, Rachel says, I will always use the word opportunity when speaking about Africa. Exactly. That's my hashtag at the moment. Use, and African opportunities, one of the hashtags I use for Africa Fashion Guide and Africa Fashion's Future. And that was the name of our conference last year. And I've been hashtagging that. Two key things. I'm always going to speak positively as well, Rachel. We know the challenges, but we have to see it as we know it can be, the potential. So,
challenges are all about opportunity and innovation. That's what they are. They're not insurmountable. It's just how we come up with a solution to it.
Wow. Look at that guy. Wow. Please watch this back. I'm going to be watching the back anyway. I need to. I'm learning as well.
I'm going to be watching it back to, and to the extent that we can interface with a lot of different colleges and that kind of thing, also to Jacqueline, and because I'm on the I say I'm on the other end of the spectrum. We're speaking with a lot of the younger people. Oh, we're getting some mind blowing. Well, why don't we do this? Well, we could do that, or we could take this approach to do it, and that kind of thing. Exactly, Rachel. The challenges do not bother. Always a solution. And especially with the virtual platforms now.
Yeah, you just got to tap into it. You got to be relevant as well to know what is out there for you. That's why I mentioned things like blockchain, because
right,
we have to understand, because I was thinking, what is all this? What is all this? But we're going to start working that way, and I believe it's going to get more refined and more dynamic, but we have to understand this because it's going to affect your businesses going forward. So, make sure you get on board. But guys, tomorrow, hopefully all things work okay, because I'm bringing in somebody based in Ghana who we're working with, Africa Fashion Guide is partnered with, who does production out there, Ghanaian lady. He's been working in fashion. Her mother's worked in fashion production for a while as well.
Excellent.
So he's going to be coming and talking about what it's like from a factory owner point of view.
Perfect.
Putting that up, and the pros and cons and the shipping and EPZs and setting up separately or getting your own land or your own buildings and equipment, all of this. We're going to go through that stuff, and I think it's going to be really important because you can understand from that perspective as well as from your perspective as a designer. So tomorrow that will be 8 o'clock, so same time. So I really encourage you guys get on board. This is our last week of doing this. A few more days.
You are welcome. You're welcome.
Rachel's lovely. She's
yeah.
A few more days, guys. So if enough people are interested, I will continue doing it, but only once a month as like I said, a business kind of business group, business kind of mastermind group, to kind of support you guys. But I'm going to see if enough people are interested in that. Then even if it's a small group, I will do that for you guys and commit my time to you guys once a month. But for now, tomorrow, be there. You're going to really love it.
I will.
And thank you, bless you, hey five to you, and stay blessed. Really appreciate your time.
I really appreciate the opportunity for us to have the discussion, Jacqueline, and to share with others on the platform and to get the inputs, and I think this is we have a long building road ahead of us, so it's incredible.
Definitely. Well, we're on the road now, so if you don't do it, somebody else is going to do it. So just get in there now. The platform, the marketplace is not as there's not as much competition because soon it's going to be flooded. So make it happen now, guys. It's your opportunity, it's your chance to do something on the continent that you love. Okay, so God bless you. Have a wonderful evening, Nicole. Thanks again, and see you guys tomorrow.
All right, Jacqueline. Thank you very much. Thanks to everybody. Bye, Tassia, Rachel. Bye, everybody.
Bye.